You are watching Xirtus.
thinking about what values that they had and why they valued those things. I think that's really key. Um, what are some of the things that you think philosophy can do for people? Why do we bother with it?
Mm. Mm. Certainly, one answer I think would be that just the general answers to life. Everyone has some, and you end up giving an answer to those. Either if you do philosophy or not, you're gonna have a life philosophy. You're gonna defend some things that you think are right. You're gonna, paint a sort of metaphysical picture of the world. You're gonna say that God exists or it doesn't exist, or you're gonna defend the Big Bang theory or something. So in the end, everybody has to support some theories that ultimately rely on philosophical assumptions and thinking. And it's just a shame if you just accept some of the answers, but then you don't dig into the assumptions and the assumptions that underlie those positions, and so you would understand where they're coming from and why you're accepting the ideas that you do, basically.
Yeah,
That.
I think another question I should have asked first is what is philosophy? What is philosophia? What does that mean for people?
Yeah.
Do you think it's like an actually is it as simple as the historical etymology of the word where it's like kind of being buddies with wisdom, or is there more of a dialectic to sophism? Like what is sophism and so what's the difference? Like how would a perfect world of just a philosopher kings work, or what would we do if we were all advanced philosophers?
Oh, asking the big questions, huh?
Got to start somewhere.
Yeah, that's a tough question. But in general, I would say that philosophy, just any rational kind of thinking about the world, because okay, no, not actually. I'm not sure actually how I define this kind of. I'm kind of struggling with just well, keeping it apart from science for one, because science is a rational way of thinking about the world, but it seems to be something different at play when we talk about philosophy, and I think that's the biggest question here: how to demarcate philosophy from science, and perhaps an answer would just would point out what this difference is, and maybe it would be about going deeper with the assumptions that underlie our scientific investigations of the world, just trying to get to the bottom of things, while scientific thinking accepts some paradigms and some assumptions, it takes them for granted so it can progress and show some what Kuhn calls, for example, it tries to basically take the paradigm from which it works and extend it to more phenomena in the world. So yeah, so philosophy in that view would have to be some guy that is a philosopher would be the guy who doesn't want to, who's not interested in just broadening the scope, the empirical scope of a theory, but tries to get to the bottom of it. Like what are the presumptions or assumptions that underlie it.
I was yesterday thinking about the chicken and the egg theory, and I was like, this is not a question that should take any effort. It's the egg, right? And like it's funny because they use empiricism back and forth, but it's like, well, no matter where you go, if you're cloning an embryo, if you're going into, so this question, which came first, the chicken or the egg? If you were to use just empiricism, you'd have to keep going back and it would be confusing, but you could use some empiricism in your philosophical deduction. You have a dialectic and you see, well, everything is in some sort of embryo or cellular shape, and so except for maybe like light DNA or something, embryos and eggs are the eggs first. I don't know, it seems like philosophy can answer questions that otherwise people spend centuries worrying about and never answering with science. And science is actually so new too. It's like we and it can't, and it's so plastic because it has to change as we realize our empiricism is skewed. So I agree fully that You know, I think as AI takes over, even the last thing that really they'll teach is philosophy, because you know there'll be machines that are better at everything else, but that's going to be the thing that we still need to do.
Yeah, but also what philosophy can do, it can reject the question. It can point out that the question relies on some assumptions that basically are non-consistent. So, for example, somebody could be like, well, the chicken or the egg, this is a very categorical question for a very, very gradual process. So chicken or the egg, I mean, no, at first it was like half chickens and half eggs, and you know, some species that are on the border, and then gradually it evolved towards the category of chicken and the chicken egg. So that's also a good, a useful thing in science. It can get rid of questions that are the scientific puzzles that kind of are there, and nobody can solve them, and philosophy can just make an end to them. Yeah, that's not a valid question to ask.